Our beer. Have you noticed how many beers there are in any bottle shop you go into these days? What is going on? I would have thought there are enough beers already. But for a local bloke by the name of Wade Curtis, obviously he doesn't think so. Wade is the owner of his own brewing company, Four Hearts Brewing Company. He's on the line. How are you, Wade?
I'm good, thanks, Kim. How are you?
Good, mate. Good. Thanks for the time this afternoon. Well, for a start, aren't there enough beers out there already? What do you reckon?
I don't think so. I think if you look how many wines are out there, it's sort of getting to a similar point with a lot of the craft brews, and there's lots of different variations, and you're really limited by your imagination. So I think there's a good variety out there, and hopefully room for a few more.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you're hoping that. Now, you've come up with your own beer, and we'll talk about that in a sec. But what made you have a crack at brewing your own beer? Where did this all come about?
I did a fair bit of travelling in 2001, overseas in Europe and America, and tried a lot of different beers. And when I came back to Brisbane and Ipswich, I sort of couldn't find the beers that I wanted, so I started brewing my own. And it just sort of snowballed from there and to where we are now with, my own recipe and my own brew sort of hitting the market.
So how did you start back then? Did you just get one of those little packs you get out of the supermarket or what?
Yeah, I just bought the little pack and went from there. And there's a lot of good websites with like Aussie Home Brewer and things like that where there's a lot of advice and you sort of find yourself progressing through the ranks from, all the way through to mashing your own grain before you sort of know it. So it's not as difficult as people think, although I know everyone's got their story of a bad home brew, but there's a lot of good ones out there, that's for sure.
So how long did you have to tweak it before you thought, hey, that's pretty good?
Probably about a year it took me of doing different batches, and I had plenty of tasters and volunteers, that's for sure. They're never short of those. So I got a lot of feedback, and even with this beer, I'll take feedback on board, and then we'll tweak it down the track as we go. It's one of those things that always keeps evolving, really.
Yeah, where's your brewery? What have you set up now? I take it you've got more than the drum that comes with the kits or whatever.
No, what we do now is we spend a lot of time on the recipe. I guess, as you could guess, there's a lot of equipment involved, and what we do is we contract another brewery in Brisbane to make it for us.
Yep.
So we can focus on the sales and the recipe, and at one point we'd love to have our own brewery or a pub that has a brewery in it, something like that. But at this stage we're just starting quite small, getting feedback, getting people on board, and then we'll see how it grows from there.
So you get your own recipe and you get a brewery to put all that together for you virtually?
Yeah, that's right. I go on site there.
Yep.
When they make it or when they made the first batch,
yep.
Make sure it's all right, and then we test it and things like that, and make sure that it's to our specifications.
So the brewing company is Four Hearts Brewing, is that right?
Yes, that's right. Yep.
And what's the name of the beer?
It's called 4 Degrees Pale Ale. It's an American pale ale, so it's got sort of very fruity hops, but I guess unlike some pale ales, it's got quite a malty taste too, so it's a nice dark copper colour, not your sort of light amber colour as sort of some of the trends are around summer beers. This is still a nice refreshing summer beer, but it's more fruity and a little bit more complex, something you can have with a meal and things like that.
4 Degrees Pale Ale. Where'd you come up with the name?
It was a little bit of trial and error, a bit like the recipe, really. It just sounded catchy, and I've got some friends that are graphic designers, and they put together a few logos, and we wanted to use something that was quite catchy. I guess 4 degrees is a good temperature to serve beer, although a lot of people think the colder the better. Once you've got a more complex beer, you want it to warm up a little bit, but not to the point of, like an English bitter in a pub. You want it to be, still cold, but not so cold you can't taste the flavour.
Mm-hmm. What about the product? Once you've got the beer made, Wade, how easy is it to get it into bottle shops or whatever?
Oh, that's the hard part. Making beer is easy. Selling it is hard. You're competing with multinational giants. There's some good pubs around Brisbane with Platform Bar and Archive Bar and West End that support smaller breweries, but it really is quite tough, and that's one of the reasons we want to start small and build a following, is because if you invest a lot, you've still got quite a small market, especially in Queensland.
Are there many around, Wade? Many breweries around? Small ones like you?
Yeah, there's a few. Most of them are sort of bigger than us. There's Burleigh Brewing on the Gold Coast. There's Sunshine Coast Brewing. There's a couple of pubs that have their own brewery in them as well, in the Gabba and also in Spring Hill. So, And then there's also one at Mount Tambourine. So they're starting to pop up, but I mean, in Victoria they've got 50 odd small breweries all doing this sort of thing. So I think the opportunity is definitely here in Queensland, and the craft beer market is the only sort of part of the beer market at the moment that's really growing. The smaller brands, and you're seeing brands like Fat Yak, even though they're owned by Carlton, they're starting to get on tap places, and people are starting to experiment a bit more. So hopefully it's the right time.
Wade, when is your launch and where?
Now, the launch is on the 15th of December. It's a Wednesday night. It starts at 6 p.m. It's at the Platform Bar, which is just under Central Station. And they've also been awarded the best small bar in Australia by Beer and Brewer magazine. So it's a bit of a celebration for them. It's my launch. And there'll also be 2 new beers from the South Australian Brewing Company and possibly some other local beers as well, some new to the market ones. So we're really trying to make it a bit of a gathering and give people a taste of what's out there.
So is it invitation only or what?
No, anyone can turn up. And I'm on Twitter and Facebook like everybody. If people look for Four Hearts Brewing, there'll be updates and things like that on there. So the more the merrier. Although we are limited to numbers, but I'm sure we'll get plenty along. Should be good.
Hope they don't drink all your supplies out in the one hit.
No, that's all right.
Wednesday, December 15th, 6 o'clock at the Platform Bar in Ann Street in just Central Station there. That's for the launch of 4 Degrees. Hey, good luck with it, Wade. I hope it works out well for you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Kim. Thanks for your time.
All the best.
Cheers. Thank you.
Wade Curtis, who's got his own brewery, Four Hearts Brewing Company, came back from travel in the early, about 10 years ago now, 9 years ago, and thought, there's no beers I like. So, as fussy as Wade was, he thought, I'll make my own, and now he's putting it out on the market as of next week.